Well, thank you, and great turnout today. Great to be here to kick off this event today. I think it's going to be a great mixture of a learning experience and new perspectives on water and alternative water, as well as sharing some specific details about our approaches to the future of water and land development in our Water Forward program. If you see some of our material or often talk, you'll see a 100-year symbol on Austin Water. Austin Water has been providing water services to our community for well over a century. Matter of fact, the closest date we can find when we knew for sure Austin Water was an official part of city government was 1912. So I guess it's 107 years of service, and I've had the honor of being the utility director for 12 of those years. Now that is a small portion of that 107-year arc, but it's been an eventful 12 years. And I think maybe I just would pause a moment and share a little bit some of those events. One of them, I think for me, is just how rapidly Austin is growing. I know when I go to conferences, or maybe when you travel or read about us, we often speak with great pride about Austin's economy and the dynamics of it. And we're the fastest growing large city in the nation and have been for several years. And in public, we say that with pride, but I have to be honest, sometimes when I go to bed as the Austin Water Director and I'm looking up at the ceiling and I'm like, oh, we're the fastest growing water utility in the nation. It's a very demanding challenge for us to have that kind of infrastructure. In the dozen years that I've been director, I think over 300,000 new people that have moved to Austin in that time, and all the infrastructure and water supply and planning that goes with that. And clearly that shows no end in the future. Additionally, we face difficult challenges with our climate here. Austin has always been the subject of climate extremes. We go from intense droughts to intense flooding. I know for me, one of the most intense periods of my career was the drought from 2011 to 2015. In that 5-year period, it just didn't rain. And you might recall, if you lived here in 2011, that was the year we had over 90 days above 100, the lowest total rainfall in the history of our community. That 5-year period, by many measures, was some of the driest that our region has ever experienced, worse than even the drought of the 50s. And then we broke out of that drought in the traditional way with flooding. And not only flooding, but flooding that's intensifying. We experienced that just 6 months ago in October of 2018, the Llano River flood. As all of you probably know, Austin Water experienced a citywide boil water notice. All 3 of our treatment plants were knocked out of service at the same time from a perspective of being able to remove that level of turbidity. The water quality had changed in a way we had never experienced, and the duration of that event had lasted longer than we ever experienced. So that's some of the challenges we face as a utility and a community. And layer on top of that, other issues, ever-tightening regulations, aging infrastructure. There's a lot of risk that goes in Austin Water as we look into the future. So how do we prepare for that risk? How do we deal with those realities of climate change and growth and infrastructure and regulations? Well, you need big, ambitious solutions. And one of those for the utility is our Water Forward plan. Several years ago, after the drought, our community set forth to develop an integrated water resource plan to kind of take a holistic look at water and water resources in our community. We have a task force that we work with appointed by the council. We had extensive community outreach. Several years of effort resulted in our Water Forward plan. And that's what we're here to share with you today, is a little more background on that and some of the directions that we're taking with that. And it wasn't just a plan for the next 5 years, it was really a plan for the next 100 years. We thought about what is it going to be like in the future as our community continues to grow. For example, under very reasonable assumptions, working with the demographer of the city, we estimate Austin Water service area over the next century will go from about 1.1 million that we serve today to over 4 million in the future. And that's not the region, that's just Austin Water's service area that we have today. Think about that, 1.1 million to 4 million, just for Austin Water. In addition, our Water Forward plan thought about different ways that technology and water resiliency will enter into our future. On the technology side, we envision things like advanced meter infrastructure. I don't know if you've heard about our AMI project. It's actually out for procurement now. It's a $80 million project over the next several years where we're going to replace 250,000 meters in Austin Water and go to a digital system where you're going to have a portal on your phone and you can see your water use hour to hour. In the future, you may get a text indicating that you have a leak at your home or that you crossed from block 3 into block 4. That's a different future. That's an ambitious project. It's tough. It's going to be tough to go out there and replace 250,000 meters, to build a communication network. Instead of one data point a month, your bill, you're going to get one data point an hour in the future. You know, that is a significant change, but that's the bold solution that we envision with Water Forward, giving more tools to our customers and our utility to manage water wisely. We're also envisioning resiliency in our water supply. We have charted a course over the next 10 or 15 years that we're going to build an aquifer storage and recovery project. During times of plenty, when our highland lakes are full, they've been full the last 4 years. We imagine a future where we're going to take water during those times of plenty and store it underground. Safe from evaporation, safe for the future, all ready to go, drinking water quality, tens of thousands of acre-feet of water stored underground, ready to go. That's a part of our Water Forward plan. Another part of the plan is shaping the future of the Austinites that are yet to come. As I mentioned, we're about 1.1 million now. You know, we serve not only the city limits, but areas outside of the city too. And that's going to grow to over 4 million in the future. Well, there's an optimism to that if you think about it, 3/4 of the Austinites that will live here aren't here yet. And so that gives us a chance to shape that future to be as water-wise as possible. You know, how can we think differently about water in our community from a land development perspective? How might we think differently about all the sources of water that are available to us? Not just the Highland Lakes water that we treat to potable standards, but reuse water coming out of our wastewater plants, or rainwater falling on a roof or a property, or air conditioning condensate coming off a big chiller system. You know, how do all those different sources of water come together in an integrated whole? And that's through the land development process, and that's one of the things that we want to share today is how are others doing that? Say San Francisco. How is the utility doing that? Right now, the utility is in partnership with the new land development building that is being built, a new development services center, to have an integrated water system there where we're going to treat all the water on site and reuse it. You know, speaking of San Francisco, last summer I took a trip to San Francisco. I went to the headquarters of San Francisco Utility, Power, Water in San Francisco, and saw their headquarters where they capture all the water from their building and redo it. The Central Library here in Austin, I think, is a remarkable project, and you'll probably maybe hear about that today, but 90% of the water in the new Central Library is reuse water. Only 10% of that water is fresh Highland Lakes water. That comes from other sources of, again, rainwater capture, central reclaim. So again, that's a different future when you think about that. And so we want to share those with you today and some concepts that we have for proposed land development code. Our council understands the importance of these initiatives, and as a part of the land development code rewrite, gave us direction to take opportunities to accelerate some of our water forward land development approaches with this rewrite. And so we want to share some of that with you today, particularly for very large developments. We want to kind of get your input on some options with that. So again, an exciting day in the context of these things that are happening with water forward. And speaking of City Council, we're honored today to have one of our council members, District 6, Council Member Jimmy Flannigan's here with us today. I want to speak a little bit about Councilmember Flannigan. I met Councilmember Flannigan many years ago, well before he was an elected official. He was very active in the community. I'm a District 6 member. He's my council member, not only as a policymaker, but he's my council member. I live up there, and I encountered Councilmember Flannigan and appreciated his inquisitive mind and his immediately recognition of the importance of water to the future. I remember the first interaction I had with him at a community event. He was asking me all kinds of questions and just, kind of understanding water more and the importance of that. And clearly, as a policymaker, he understands that. He's one of the first that always invites us to come to his town hall meetings and reserves a spot for Austin Water so we can speak about the future or assist residents in using water more wisely, explain where we're going as utilities. So, Councilmember, we really appreciate your commitment to water and the future of Austin, and would like to introduce you and have you come up and say a few words.
So when staff asked me to come and speak to you all today, I asked for kind of a list of talking points. And they go, talk about the importance of water and talk about the types of technology. And then Greg said all the things before I came up here. What I want to talk about just briefly is about the politics of this situation. And, we need to be mindful of, when we're at the city at least, the political environment that we're operating in. There are a lot of explanations one can give for Austin politics, but I think the clearest explanation, the number one issue that has driven Austin politics for the last 30 years is water. And it started with Save Our Springs. And that decision has dictated the political future of this city since the early 90s. And what that decision ultimately said was, the quality of the water in the springs, but also kind of everywhere, is our top issue. And the way we protect it is by inhibiting development. That has been the guiding light of Austin politics for the last 30 years. That is changing. And it's changing for a number of reasons. It's changing in part because of districts, but it's also changing because we're now seeing that by inhibiting development in the city of Austin, you don't stop development everywhere. You just push it. In fact, what you do is you push it beyond the long arm of Austin's law. You push it into Dripping Springs. And what did we see? We saw cloudy water starting to make its way into the springs recently. The result of development practices far, far, far upstream than the city of Austin can control. You see Dripping Springs responding to its rapid growth and development by obtaining an effluence permit that is going to release what some people say will be not a big deal, what other people say will be a ginormous deal, but nonetheless different than today, a different quality of water than today, into the springs. This is the most important issue in Austin politics. What we are in now, as we what I believe is transitioning to a new political theory. Partly, I think, because of districts, which has changed a lot of games. It's changed a lot of the narratives. But what we do in the land code rewrite is everything about the future of the city. The number one issue now is housing affordability and homelessness. That is the number one issue that's driving policy at the city of Austin. But it's not that people who care about water as their number one have gone away. In fact, they are now our partners. And we need them to be our partners. So coming here today to talk to you all, the folks who have to build and design the types of tools and technologies that are going to help us get to that better future. A better future where Austin has actually built the housing that it needs, that it's built it in a way that supports public transportation, that it's built it in a way that helps with our climate change goals and our air quality goals by not forcing people to drive all the way in from Liberty Hill to work every single day because we've built the housing that we need. You all are part of that solution. But I want to caution you in this process today. If you are hesitant, if you have doubts about the city's ability to do this, I understand. But we're doing it anyway. The rules and the processes around land development, there's no one that raises their hand and go, oh yeah, we love that. The thing that's happening right now with permitting and having to go through 400 commissions and 10 postponements at city council, oh yeah, we love that. Everybody loves it. No, nobody loves that. We are going to change this thing, and we're going to change it this year. And for you all, you have a very critical role in this question, and I need you to lean in. I need you to lean in. Do not resist. You will be ignored. Lean in and really provide the staff and by proxy the council, the actual this works, this doesn't work, this is gonna add this much cost to the project, this is gonna inhibit our ability to get housing. If there are rules that are gonna inhibit a project's ability to add that next unit, that's gonna be the most impactful thing the council wants to hear. So your role in this process today is critical, but we're gonna move forward with or without you, and I would much rather do it with you. Because at the end of the day, we need housing. We need housing at all levels. We need high-end housing, we need low-end housing, we need middle-of-the-road housing, we need duplexes and triplexes and quadplexes, we need apartment complexes that have affordable units. We need all the things. Fastest growing city in America needs all the things. And you all are playing a critical role here today with our staff, Austin Water staff. And I want to thank you for taking time out of your paying jobs to come and do your civic duty here with the city. And I am confident that with your partnership in this work, we can get to a land development code at the end of this year that will accomplish our city's goals and allow us to build the housing that we need for the next 10 to 20 years. Thank you all so much.